will not live. There's no way you can handle this. And I also see God, as well as doing all of those things, keeping them safe, He sets a boundary because they cannot take all of that power. Why does God not appear to you and talk to you face to face? Because you wouldn't be here to be able to relay that. You will die. In our physical form, we cannot handle that. I shared with you guys a testimony of God appearing before me, right? Okay? Was that Wednesday night? Alright. What happened was I was busy studying and reading and stuff like that, and I was going through this whole process, and I went, had this vision, and this man just looked at me, and everything was like I just saw this guy's face, and he was just like, said something, he rattled off something in Hebrew before I did Hebrew. I knew it was Hebrew, but that was it. And he just said, "Get ready, the king is coming." Disappeared. And then all of a sudden, God's presence, and just His presence, struck me. I never saw robes, I never saw clouds, I never saw His hand, I never saw any of it. I just felt the presence of God. And as I was standing, looking around, going, what's happened? When this thing hit me, all I did was fall flat in my face. I dared not look up. There was no way. Everything was just so strong, so powerful, that I couldn't even raise my eyes to take a look. And then I woke up. Snapped out. My heart, my chest here was sore for the next 3 days. It was physically paining. And I walked around like this going, what could this mean? What's going on? Did I have a heart attack and then go to heaven and come back down? What was going on? I didn't understand it. I understand it now. If He showed me any more of Himself, I would not be here to do what I'm doing. That was just the beginning of His presence. Can you stand when He comes down on a mountain to speak? We tend to minimize the idea of our God. But when things start to come into perspective, when it says, when He comes down, every knee shall bow, there's a nice way of saying, you will never stand before that power. I pray that as much as it probably scared a little life out of me, but if everybody would have an experience like that, you would understand the power behind you. And when He says, I will ride across heaven to help you when you call upon my name, you're not just talking about some person who you think, okay, that's a nice image. You're talking about God who created everything, who spoke the sun into existence, holds the universe in His hand, and He leaves His throat to come and help me. Understand that? Alright.
So can I ask you, is there a meaning with the third day? Verse 11 where it says, let them be ready on the third day.
I think there's always that sort of play in the back of our mind, Yeshua. Okay, I definitely think it's a nice picture of get ready, by the third day He will appear. As Yeshua said, on the third day He appeared. Right? And Moses told the people the words of Hashem, and Hashem said to Moses, go to the people and consecrate them today and tomorrow, and they shall wash their clothes. Be ready for the third day, because on the third day Hashem will come down. He will descend on Mount Sinai before the eyes of the people. And you shall limit the people around, saying, watch yourselves about going up to the mountain and touching the edge. Anyone touches the edge will die. A hand shall not touch him, but he shall be stoned or shot. Whether animal or man, he will not live. At the blowing of the horn, at the blowing of the shofar, Yom Teruah, Yeshua puts it in a funny way, at the sound of the last trump. on Yom Teruah, we blow the shofar 100 times a day. 100 times that day. And the last trump has a specific, unique sound. At the sound of the last trump.
This one says Yovel.
Sorry?
This one doesn't refer to as blowing of anything, it says when Yovel.
When you?
Yovel. It says when the Yovel.
When the sound, it's probably in Hebrew.
No, I don't know.
It's in Hebrew form. What does the other translation say? When the ram's on the shofar. The Yovel is probably a play on this Yom Teruah, that's in the blowing of it. Okay? At the blowing of the horn, they shall go up to the mountain. And Moses went down from the mountain to the people, and he consecrated the people. And they washed their clothes, and he said to the people, be ready for 3 days. Do not come close to a woman. Again, rather random, right? This verse has led a few of our brothers to believe that making love, when you make love to your wife, the Holy Spirit leaves the room. I'm not even playing. This is actual church doctrine, I'm sorry to say. Because of this verse. Now I'm going to terrorize you. What was God talking about?
Live to yourself.
Is it not beautiful that you make love to your wife? Didn't he institute that whole thing about coming one flesh? So how can it not be clean?
The way that they worshipped other gods in Egypt.
Ding ding. 10
They
points.
still like battling with how to worship God.
Remember, the world at that time, biblical orgies were norm. This is how you worship. High priest, virgin, or maybe not so virgin, nice altar, mass orgy, everybody else watches and then joins in, whether you want to grab some other person's wife, or your daughter, or a goat. It didn't really matter.
Or a goat.
I'm not even playing. I can take you to these places in Israel. I will show you the altars. This is what is documented. It was all about making their God become aroused, so he would grab his girlfriend and they would procreate so that you would have spring. That was the thinking for Baal. These altars are there. This is what people thought. This is what they practiced. So now you understand when the people that come from different areas and then they go, come, let us show you how to worship. And all the priestesses come down with very revealing clothing. Come, let's worship. Oh, you slaughter animals? No, we do something a lot more fun. Come. How do you think they got enticed? Pinchas. You remember the story of Phineas? There was, I think it was Cosby, the priest's daughter. Priest, I think it was of Midian. I stand to be corrected. It'll come up later. And it was a chieftain's son from one of the tribes. They went into the entrance of the tabernacle to worship. And Phineas picked up a spear and he walked in there and he stabbed it so hard it went straight into the ground and pierced both of them. That's how you worship. God says He's already preparing them. You will not get confused between worship and making love. This is not how you will worship me. This is something beautiful between man and wife. This is us. But this is how you will worship me. You stay focused on me. Okay? Let's not get confused. It's not that God is anti-making love. He invented it. He made it feel good. That's how we got kids, right? And they said to the people, be ready for 3 days and do not come close to a woman. And it was on the third day when it was morning and it was thunders and lightning. Okay? Fire. Alright, you guys got this more or less, eh? There's a couple of beautiful images that come up. We've already mentioned sound of a shofar or a ram's horn. Okay? And he will come down in fire, otherwise known as lightning. Okay? There's a covering that takes place. I'm just going to put it up because it's a nice image of cloud. You'll see the point of this a little later. Most of you know it. Okay. It was on the third day in the morning, it was thunders and lightning and heavy cloud on the mountain, and the sound of a horn very strong. And the entire people that was in the camp trembled. And Moses brought out the people toward God from the camp, and they stood up at the bottom of the mountain. And Mount Sinai, all was smoke, because Hashem came down on it in fire. And its smoke went up like the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain trembled greatly. And the sound of the horn was getting much stronger. Moses would speak, and God would answer him in a voice. The nation heard God speak. And Hashem came down on Mount Sinai, on top of the mountain, and Hashem called to Moses at the top of the mountain, and Moses went up. And Hashem said to Moses, go down, warn the people in case they break through to Hashem to see, and many of them fall. And also he let the priests, who approach Hashem consecrate themselves, or else Hashem will break out against them. And Moses said to them, the people will not be able to go to Mount Sinai, because you warned us, saying, limit the mountain and consecrate it. And Hashem said to him, go down, and then you'll come up, you and Aaron with you, and let the priests and the people not break through to come up to Hashem, or else he'll break out against them. I think there's a little funny moment here. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. No, go down. No, I already told them. Go down and then come back. 1,000 steps, 1,000 steps, 1,000 steps, 1,000 steps, 1,000 steps, 1,000 steps. This very beautiful image of ascending, descending, ascending, descending, ascending, descending. Jacob's ladder. Okay? You read that Yeshua was Jacob's ladder. The medium between God and the people. Moses is being used here in a sense to receive the word from God, and he is allowed to come back down, and he is able to correct them, to give them truth, right? And Moses went down to the people and he said to them, and God spoke to all these words saying, I am Hashem your God who brought you out from the land of Egypt, from the house of slaves. How many people have in their Bibles, I'm the Lord your God? Stop. None. So then why is it then when we start looking at the 10 Commandments, the first commandment is, I'm the Lord your God. Nothing thereafter. Why does it go into such detail to say, who brought you out from the land of Egypt, the house of slaves? Why do I need to remember that?
Because where you came from and where God's taken you.
Now give me a beautiful spiritual picture of what's happening.
Born again.
I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim, Egypt, literally means bondage. I pulled you out of those chains that were holding you back. Isn't that the first and foremost thing Yeshua did for you? 10 Commandment doesn't apply? We'll challenge that today. You shall not have any gods before you, before your face. You shall not have any other gods before you. So, no idols. You shall not make a statue any form that is in the skies above, or that is in the earth below, or that is in the water below the earth. You shall not bow down to them, and you shall not serve them, because I, Hashem, your God, am a jealous God, counting your parents' crime on children, the 3rd generation, and on the 4th generation of those who hate me, but practicing kindness to thousands to those who love me, and for those who observe my mitzvot, my instructions. So he tells you will not bring other gods before him. He tells you should not have any idols. Any statue of any form. Human form, okay?
Any form. You cannot have Mary.
I'm not just thinking of Mary. I'm thinking of images of Yeshua. Because people get confused and they start praying to a thing. In different cultures, we have different forms of Yeshua. mean, they make fun of this in the movies, but you look at, when you go to Asian communities, Yeshua actually has slanted eyes.
Korean Jesus.
Korean Jesus. Okay? I'm using this as a silly example, but it happens. And all of a sudden, Yeshua was not the Jewish Messiah, the Lion of Judah. He was not belonging to the tribe of anything, but now he belongs to us and our nation. Yes, he does, but we need to understand that he was busy with the people. God made a covenant with the people, and when he returns, he's going to return in the same manner of which he ascended, on Mount Zion. And he will live and reign in the New Jerusalem, not the New Johannesburg. He was a Jewish man. He was a Messiah, the Mashiach to a Jewish nation. And because we are grafted in, he is our Messiah. But never forget the roots, because he honors the promises to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And because he does, we can have faith that he'll honor the promises that we hold on to. Remember, we spoke about the covenants, right? The renewed covenant or the new covenant echoes everything that was promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I will be your God, you will be my people. That's the essence of it all. Okay? Be careful of idols. I know the heart is there, but we forget what God instructed. You shall not bring up the name of Hashem your God for a falsehood, because Hashem will not make one innocent who brings up his name in falsehood. What does your translation say there?
Do not bring the name of Hashem your Elohim to naught, for he does not leave the unpunished who brings his name to naught.
Any other translations?
Misuse his name.
Misuse his name? Not use it in vain is the normal translation we have. Okay? What it means is you will not use it lightly. You will not use his name willy-nilly, if I can use that expression. If you invoke the name, you invoke the power behind the name. And if you understand who you're calling, you need to understand the power. We need to understand something here as well, guys. People have a tendency to be like, oh my, God bless you. And we immediately assume he's talking about the God of the Bible. In many cases, they're not. A Buddhist can say, may God bless you. A Muslim can say, may God bless you. Many other people can say, may God bless you. But are they talking about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob?
They're talking about their God.
Okay? Why do you think the Jews are so particular? And why do you think instead of sounding out the name Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, I say Hashem?
Don't use his name just like that.
Even when I'm reading his word and I'm full title to call it, I will not just utter his name without thinking at least 17 times. I'm using a silly example, okay? I will make sure to be sure that what I am saying comes with the right reverence, the right love, so that when I call on him by name, I'm not only talking about him, I'm referring to him, and that's all of him. Okay? It goes that far. Okay, I do this as well. I find this interesting and helpful, that when I write God, I know who I'm talking about. It's always in capital, and I always do a dot, and I always do that. Okay? It helps me remember that it's not just something I write down on the table. When I refer to God, I refer to my God, I refer to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, I refer to Yeshua the Ruach HaKodesh, I refer to El Shaddai, I refer to Ha-Elyon. Every single aspect, every single function he is to me. So when I write something on a group or something like that, that's the form I choose, because I need to be reminded. Too much has it become in our culture today that God is your chomi. You just pick up a phone call and you, hey, what's up with you? What's going on? I just need a couple of snacks and some things. And thanks for listening to me. Okay, thank you, bye. There is an aspect that God wants you to call upon his name. But we need to remember who he is. You don't just walk into the presence of the king and sit on his lap and pull his nose and go, hey, how's it going? Lekker. You wouldn't do that to the monarchy standing before you today. What makes you think you can do it to the creator of all things? Check your motive, check your heart before you go into prayer, because you enter into the Holy of Holies by the blood of Yeshua, and you stand before him and you make a supplication, not a demand. You humbly ask. Instead of going, yeah, I'm just Jan, I want you to just sort out this thing for me quickly. We have lost that respect in our society. It is something that the Jews do extremely well. That when they open up when they uncase the Torah scroll, I mean, the Torah scroll has a crown on it, it's clothed in purple. I mean, the imagery is fantastic. Remember we spoke about it. It's crowned, it's clothed in purple, it's impaled on a stake. It's the word in flesh, it's Yeshua.
That's amazing.
But when they take it out of the cupboard, people stand. And they bow. And they put it on their chest. And they walk it proudly down the aisle. And when they open it up, people, when they go past, they kiss it, or they touch it, and they put it to their lips, reminding them, may your words be as sweet as honey in my mouth. And they go through this whole beautiful process, because at the very word of the Most High, things jumped into being. Don't think cracking open your Bible doesn't invoke the same power. Don't think for a second that any word here that is there just because it's there. Every word is there because He put it there. Okay? Bring it back. Remember the Sabbath day to make it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, and the 7th day is a Sabbath, is a Shabbat to Hashem, your God. You shall not do any work, you and your son and your daughter, your servant and the maid, your animal, your alien who is at your gates. People who do not belong to your house, people who do not believe. You tell them no one does any work at Shabbat. And in an ideal world, this would be easy. Even in Jerusalem, when you go to your hotel on Shabbat, all of a sudden the nice, maybe Jewish faces that were serving you for the first 5 days of your trip, all of a sudden change very quickly. What's going on? And all of a sudden, you get served by Arab people. For them, their day is not holy. So they make breakfast and they tidy up and they do little things. They do it kind of, they're obviously restrained. You're not going to go completely mental. But you still have people working. Here you go out and you go into the street and it's normal. You're the weird ones. You sit at home, do nothing. How boring. This is a gift to stop focusing on the rest of the crazy and just spend time with me. Sit at my table. Break bread with me. Read my word. Let's grow together. And it's a sign that you accept the covenant.
Sorry, isn't it still wrong to have the Arab people they work for them? It's they stay working for them.
Like I said,
they're getting paid, but I mean, I'm saying
in an ideal world. But even in Jerusalem, it is not 100%. And I can tell you what, in Jerusalem, Shabbat is well kept. If you go to the Orthodox areas, you go to Mea Sharim and things like that, if you drive a car, they will stone the car while you're driving past.
That's work.
I never said it was right. I said that's what happened. That's how fierce they guard the commandment. Okay? They have a whole bunch of funny things that we disagree with, but they're hard to understand. Okay? It is about silence. Just forget about your car, forget about your life, forget about all that. Okay? Yes, we can go, yeah, but isn't, walking 3 blocks a lot more work than driving for 2 minutes down the road to your shul? We can make that argument. But for a cab driver, anything to do with a car is work. So he will walk. See, you've got 2 instructions here. One is sort of alluded to and one is commanded. Do not do any work. And do not offend the person that goes in line with this. you might not consider work to go and walk around the mall and, let's say, have some tea. Have some tea. Sit down and have some tea. Okay? It is a relaxing thing for you. Great. But what happens to the person who is keeping Shabbat, who's the one who works in a mall and serves your tea 6 days a week? They look at you and they go, why are you working? No, but I'm an IT programmer. For me, it's computers. No, but this is what I do. This is work. No, but you see, you kind of get this push and pull where it's not rather correct or it's not really not. But you're actually hurting the people by making them get put into that situation. We have to consider our brethren. Not only is this a sign for us that we belong to God, but it's also a sign that we belong to God.
But Vince, the problem is I don't know how old some of us are, but our country was also once that peaceful on Sundays. And nothing was sold like liquor and all that.
Yeah.
And people were just staying home as families and everything. But I think with the greed of money, now things are going their way.
Man becomes God, man does what man wants. All right.
But do you think, my question was, sorry Cecily, my question is, do you think for a stubborn person who doesn't have a job, if he comes to your house and wants the job on a Sunday, and you tell him in the face, look at this, you're supposed to be with your God or whatever, I think you'll go well with it.
Give him great time to come back tomorrow when he's allowed to work. Okay? There is this balance. It doesn't mean we can't do good on Shabbat, guys. I have moved people's houses on Shabbat. Because if we didn't, they wouldn't have moved. Their places would have been a catastrophe. They had kids. How were they going to get food and that sorted? How were they going to go through those things? We went out to bless them to get it done. What we need to understand is you reflect which God you serve. And when people come in here, they need to know what is important to your God by what you do. Right?
Sorry. I just want to mention how we do Shabbats in our house. I don't know how exactly, we're still learning as well, we're still young in this, but what we feel is if we all share the workload, then it's not like one person standing cooking and cleaning all the time, because you're giving everyone a chance just to breathe, and like you prepare in the week as well, so that when it comes to Saturday, you don't have to wash your car and do your laundry, because you've planned it in the week. So it's a bit of planning prep in the week, so that you minimize your work on that day. And there is things that need to be done. I mean, the animals aren't going to feed themselves. The bird's going to need to be hand-fed. But you all share it, so then you can all...
What did Yeshua say about taking the ox to the water? Or not one of you are going to pull your ox out if it falls into a hole, or give them water to drink on Shabbat. It's good to do good.
But I don't know if it's, I think that the heart of Shabbat is pulling yourself aside to be with the Father. And I think we lose sight of that. You know, we kind of like bring down under rules, and then we forget about the actual, you know, that Sabbath was made for man to draw close to Father. You know, I don't know, that's just...
It is. It's about relationship with God above all else. When we become distracted with cooking food, with running to the shops, with doing this, with doing that, we lose sight of spending time with God. All of a sudden, you are so busy doing what you need to do because you didn't have time, or you were running around, or because you didn't plan ahead enough to be able to open up your Bible, to be able to spend time with God, to be able to go and say, look, today is the day I need a break and I get to spend time with God. How is that a chore? Sit down, shut up. We go away on holidays to be able to do what we should do once a week. Do nothing.
The really show is with the money. The sin you have to pick up for 2 days. You have to plan for 2 days.
Absolutely. We should prepare our food. Rather do a double cooking on a Friday afternoon so that you don't have to worry about cooking the next day.
What about your mates? Macy, she does on the Sunday to church, and now she has to work on a Saturday.
How's she going to know?
Trying to change, you know.
How's she going to know what Shabbat is unless you show them what Shabbat is?
we've tried with Shane.
All I'm saying is that you should consider very carefully bringing people into your house because it disturbs your peace as well. Alright, we can talk about this for hours. Let's get back. Because 6 days of the week Hashem made the skies and the earth, the sea and everything that was in them. And He rested on the 7th day. On account of this, Hashem blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy, set apart, belonging to Him. Honor your father and your mother, and your days will be extended on the land that Hashem your God is giving you. This has got a positive thing. If you do this, it will go well with you. We can joke or say, well, your parents won't kill you before you become of age. But God will take care. There is a reflection here, guys. How can children understand dad, understand protector, provider, loving, discipline? When you talk about God being their father, men, you are that image. Why do you think Hasatan is so busy running around trying to destroy fathers or destroy their view? Because if I affect that whole understanding, if I fall short, my kid understands God differently. That should scare you. When you look up to them and you say, here's your dad, the only understanding they have is what example you've given them. Take heed. What is important to you is depicted by what you do, what you make time for and how you walk. If you show them God, they will understand God. If you show them man, they will understand man. We have the responsibility as parents to show love. What is love if there is no love in your house? God loves you. Does love mean we shout at each other? Does love mean we scrape and we scold and we go around in the corner and we hold grudges? Does love mean we sit down together? We might not agree all the time, but we're there for each other no matter what. How many aspects do we have? You reflect God in more ways than we care to acknowledge. Okay? You shall not murder. Notice, some translations will say kill. But there were wars in the Bible. God said, go off and cleanse the land. God's a hypocrite. No. He's talking about murder. Premeditated attack to take one's life that is undeserving in whatever context. You shall not commit adultery. Because if you can't honor your spouse, how are you going to honor me? My peculiar treasure.
And then why were they allowed to marry? Why was like polygamy allowed?
That was a cultural problem that got used. But remember what Yeshua said? It says, in the beginning it was not so, when he said, if your hardness of your heart, Moses allowed you to give a letter of divorce.
But that goes like directly against the Ten Commandments.
No, adultery.
Well, you know, if, say, for instance, a man marries a wife and he has another wife, I mean, it's still adultery with the other one, do you know what I mean? Because he's still not...
And according to Torah, a man will, God specifically says, you will not marry more than one. Remember, in many instances in the culture of the time, this is what blows my mind about it. God will allow certain cultural aspects for His glory. Okay? I'll give you an example. You're a king in Israel, biblical times, King David. You have one wife, you're a plebe. That's it. You are not a king to be reckoned with because you only have one wife. 2, 3 wives? We can understand. This is a man who men would give their daughters willingly because of his power, because of his love, and because of this. You need to understand that God uses these things in the time to be able to reach people that would never be able to be reached. Okay? If you look at different sections of the epistles, he uses Roman culture. There was a sex slave.
Yeah, there's 4 different types of marriage.
4 different types of marriage. Okay? Corinthians, Rome as well was possible with a whole bunch of things. You become a believer in that time, and now I give you these things. What do I do with her? She was used for procreation. But if I don't look after her, she's going to starve.
So,
How do I love this one enough, but not fall short of the mitzvah? She's like my wife, but she was bought for that purpose. You know, didn't know any different. Now, you know, they would have to write. You know, I think it was in Corinthians that he also said that, you know, for that woman, that purpose she will use no more, but you will still take care of her. She will have the same status as any other woman in your house.
Yeah.
Because this whole world is confused. In an ideal world, every single one of these instructions would fall in line and it would be perfect. One woman, one man, one flesh. That's how it was created. He hasn't forgotten that. But now all of a sudden we have responsibilities that we've taken upon ourselves because we didn't know this. It's the same, yeah, Rachel and Leah.
Abraham and what's it, the concubine?
Hagar.
Hagar.
Okay? If it was a common practice with Hagar at the time that you would be able to adopt through a concubine, she would have the same status as your wife, but you would have a Hagar. That was culturally acceptable, and God was not only just trying to show them who He was, but He was also trying to shape them. But yet, there's all these little push and pull and things like that. I mean, how many of you knew that Sabbath was on a Friday night?
We didn't until we started.
Yeah, but did God meet with you on Sundays?
Because the world was doing it. So
Does He still meet with you on Sundays?
Yes.
Absolutely. But yet, He will change your mind saying, look, worship me on a Sunday is okay, but it's not Shabbat. Shabbat is Shabbat, it's a time of rest. If you want to go to church and you want to read the Word of God and you want to celebrate with these people, fine. They use the culture to be able to touch base, to be able to get you to a point where you would go, hang on a second, where did I get this term Sabbath from anyway? Oh, we've kind of been doing it wrong for many, 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 many years. And yet, can we throw Sunday away? It becomes something precious to people. As long as it doesn't replace what God has ordained. Okay? For me, what He's really instilling here is a betrothal. You shall not steal. You shall not testify against your neighbor as a lying witness. You shall not covet your neighbor's house, and you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his servant, or his maid, or his ox, or his donkey, or anything your neighbor has. It's like so much of do not covet. Right? What I want you to see here is we've got different facets here. Okay? Remember, the Ten Commandments was not 2 tablets where we have 5 sayings and 5 sayings. We have a contract, front and back, written in stone. Okay? You have 5 here, 5, and then on the back of this, 5, and then you have 5 here on the back of this, 5. Someone would sign here, someone would sign here. The one I signed, I give to the person. The one he signed, I keep. We have a contract. This is a covenant. Okay? What happens here, we have a couple of different interesting things. Okay? In the first 4, 1 to 4, mitzvahs, or instructions, who's it for? Okay? It's to help us with our relationship with God. Let's go for 5, sorry.
There was actually 10 writings there.
Some might say there's a bit of push and pull, but the gist of it. We look from 5 to 10. Who's that for?
Man.
For man. Your relationship with man. If I'm okay with man and okay with God, I can live in Shalom. Isn't that Elul and Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot all rolled into one? Okay? What I love about this piece is this is not the way a normal contract goes into term. We do not sit down and we do not look at things and we do not go, well, you know, Uncle Grant, we're going to enter into a contract, right? We're going to have band practice every Thursday at his place. Dum-dum. You will sign here, I will sign here. If one of us slip up, we get a smack on the nose. Done. That's a binding contract. I do not go to Uncle Grant and go, oh my beloved, how I lifted you and brought you unto myself, and you will become a peculiar treasure to me. Something so precious and something so wonderful that I will show you off to the world. You will be mine if we have bad practice at your house. People treat the 10 Commandments as a plain old covenant contract. It is not, it is a wedding contract. It is about God taking His people unto Himself. And there will be this beautiful treasure to Him from now and forevermore. If you can argue that the Bible is made up of a father and his bride and a son and his bride. God at Sinai and Yeshua at Pesach. I will argue that same God, same heart, same bride. He's always invited His people to a close covenant relationship. Remember at Pesach when He went down and He offered up that cup, Middle Eastern custom at that time dictated that was an engagement ring. Will you be mine? Drink of this covenant, this blood covenant that I cut with you and me. I belong to you, you belong to me. That's what He was saying. God writes out a ketubah, and the symbol that you say yes is your Shabbat. Now, if Hasatan doesn't tell you, you don't need Shabbat, it's Old Testament, so get it done all together. Doesn't matter how you serve me, it's gone. You might become a little crafty and say, well, but Sabbath has been from the beginning, but you need a sabbatical principle in your life. So as long as you celebrate it on one or another day, it's okay. But what am I telling my God and what am I telling my world? I don't belong to anybody. I sort of belong to somebody. And with Shabbat on the right day, with the right heart, with the right God, I belong to Him and Him alone. I will guard my covenant. I am His peculiar treasure. I am a king, or belong to the kingdom of the priesthood. I am holy. I am His. Because I heard, I obeyed, and I followed His instruction. Not Moshe's, not the Jews, not the Greeks, not my pastors. I follow God's. We as people who get the privilege of standing up to be able to lead a flock need to understand that first and foremost. Our job is to reflect God and that's it. They should not see me, they should see God. They should hear God and that's it. You follow God, you don't follow me. I just help you understand things. Okay? All of the people were seeing thunders and flashes and the sound of the horn and the mountain smoking, and all the people saw and they moved and they stood at a distance and they said to Moses, you speak with us so we may listen, and let God not speak with us or else we'll die. The presence of God descended onto a mountain. It was covered by a cloud so that they couldn't even see His presence. And they were too scared to let Him continue speaking.
What I love about that, it's not God that said, oh, I can only speak through Moses. It was the people that said, we're not ready yet. It's not like it's God saying, oh, you'll only hear from me via your pastor. It's us that are not ready. And it's us that are actually making that boundary with God because there's still issues in our life. Right. You know, it's not like He doesn't want that one-on-one with us.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
No. Let someone else talk to me, and then I don't want to actually hear the voice of God because, you know, you have this good and bad on both sides. It's too much for me, I can't handle it. Just say that, it's fine. But when you actually refuse to hear the voice of God because it makes you scared, guess what? You probably heard right. He is all-powerful. He is all-encompassing. He is all those wonderful things, living water. And, of course, He's going to scare your socks off. Little us, big God. We can't even be held responsible to control our own breathing when we sleep, man. Never mind inventing breathing. Moses said to the people, don't be afraid because God is coming for the purpose of testing you and for the purpose that His fear will be on your faces and that you won't sin. If you understand who I am, you will walk away from things that destroy you. And the people stood at a distance and Moses went over. Oh, mine says Nimbus to where God is. What does yours say?
Darkness.
Darkness. And Hashem said to Moses, you shall say this to the children of Israel, you have seen that I have spoken to you from the skies. You shall not make gods of silver with me, and you shall not make gods of gold for yourselves. You shall not make an altar of earth for me, and you shall not sacrifice on it your burnt offering. Sorry, am I reading that right? You shall make an altar of earth for me, and you shall sacrifice on your burnt offerings and your peace offerings and your sheep and your oxen in every place where I'll have my name commemorated. I'll come to you and bless you. This is the heart of the God you serve. He doesn't wait for you to appear and ask things. When you come to Him with the right heart, He comes to your house. He meets you in your room. And if you'll make an altar of stones for me, you shall not make them cut. When you have elevated your sword over it, you have desecrated it. And you shall not go up by the stairs on the altar, so that your nudity will not be exposed upon it. Practical as well as, you will not make anything with your hands that tries to capture me. It is impossible to do so. I created those stones, you use it as I created them. God creates you. He molds you. He forms you for His glory. Let man not pat themselves on the back and say, well, you know what? I trained Jared real good, didn't I? He only knows what he knows because you know. God molds. God shapes. God uses for His glory. Okay? There are some beautiful images that go up. And you start to see, in Acts 2, I told you guys to read. The Holy Spirit was poured out at Shavuot. This is Shavuot, when they were sitting at the mountain. They were celebrating the Festival of Weeks in Acts 2. And there were certain symbols that you will pick up on. There was a sound of a rushing wind or a sound of a horn. Yes or no? Yes. There was something as tongues of fire that descended on their heads. Was fire an image, yes or no? Yes. Okay? Imagery of God descending onto His people. If this is a ketubah, a wedding contract, as we have said, I'm going to come back to this image. There are some very interesting ideas. In a Jewish wedding, there are a few things that you're going to see. One of them is a chuppah, covering. Because as you come into, as a married couple for the first time, you are under God's covering. Where was a chuppah at Mount Sinai?
Cloud.
When the groom comes down the aisle for the first time, what gets sounded? Shofar blast. And he has a beautiful kicker. What do they say? What do they say? Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. What did Yeshua say about His coming? You will not see me again until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Yeshua is the groom. He comes with His covering. And as we are descended on, next major symbol in any Jewish wedding is a ketubah. It's your vows, it's your oaths, it's your promises that He gives you. God wrote down the 10 Commandments, and this is why I had you go back and look at Matthew 5, 6, 7. The Sermon on the Mount. And I'm not going to have time to go in this with you, but does He not talk about committing adultery? Does He not talk about stealing? Does He not talk about all of the things that are wrapped up in here? Because what they expect you to understand is you have two different mountains happening. You have Mount Sinai, where God gave you the written word and He betrothed Himself to you. And you were sitting at the Mount of Beatitudes, where God showed you the heart of everything that was written. To Do not think I came to abolish the law, but I came to establish it. The word fulfill. That we go, oh, well, the contract is fulfilled, that means it's null and void, it doesn't exist anymore. That term fulfill in Hebrew means to uphold and to establish.
That goes in line with Isaiah's prophecy, 51 verse 20, and he will magnify the law and make it honorable.
He is the word in flesh. He is the ketubah. He is the groom. There's so many different issues where people hear, when they should have seen a betrothal, I think many of them missed the point.